Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kala Sanji, Radha Kala Sanji, Sri Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Sri Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Pramanande, Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, and on the screen will be our invocation verses. If we could sing and these together and the translation, please. Narayanam namaskrityam dharam chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim visyam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta preyasa abreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering a service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Megantimarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Mrityam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Them. Right, there we go. Unto them. For this class, I just want to give a little precursor. The situation of the soul in the womb. So Kapilya Dev has explained the conditioned soul and the hell that they've gone through, right? And they've gone through this hell, and they've gone through their punishments for their past misdeeds, and then they take birth again, right? This is the conditioned soul. So I was preparing for this class, and I was reading the translations and purport, and it was just so powerful hearing the translations and purports by Srila Prabhupada that I think if it would be best if we go through these 1 through 10 and read each translation in the purport. So what I'm going to ask is, I know that sometimes it's just hard to read, to focus and stuff. So to focus when we're just reading, especially at a Srimad Bhagavatam class, we're expecting the speaker to speak this and that. So what I'm going to ask is for you all to dive deep and really try to be attentive as possible, and we'll read these verses and hear from Srila Prabhupada. Is that okay? Okay. Let's turn to 331.1, please. And what we'll do is, if you just go, okay, so yes, thank you. The purport on this one we won't do right now, we'll go back to it. So if somebody could read the translation, please.
Translation. The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body.
Okay, 2, translation and purport, please.
On the first night, the sperm and ovum mix, and on the 5th night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. On the 10th night, it develops into a form like a plum, and after that, it gradually turns into a lump of flesh or an egg, as the case may be.
Purport, please.
The body of the soul develops in 4 different ways according to its different sources. One kind of body, that of the trees and plants, sprouts from the earth. The second kind of body grows from perspiration, as with flies, germs, and bugs. The third kind of body develops from eggs, and the fourth develops from an embryo. This verse indicates that after emulsification of the ovum and sperm, the body gradually develops either into a lump of flesh or into an egg, as the case may be. In the case of birds, it develops into an egg, and in the case of animals and human beings, it develops into a lump of flesh.
What I really appreciate about this purport is it really makes you have to figure you're not part of the body, right? You're just a lump of flesh. It's hard to connect with a lump of flesh. So okay, maybe this isn't me, this lump of flesh. 331.30. I think this is just a translation, yes.
In the course of a month, a head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet, and other limbs take shape. By the end of 3 months, the nail, fingers, toes, body hair, bones, and skin appear, as do the organs of generation and other apertures in the body, namely eyes, nostril, ears, mouth, and anus.
Now you're a more complicated lump of flesh. Okay, just a small purport here. Govind.
Within 4 months from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of body, namely cycle, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt, and at the end of 6 months, the fetus includes by the amnion begins to move on the right side of the.
Okay. Gokulananda, will you read the purport? Or
when the body of the child is completely formed at the end of 6 months, the child, if he is male, begins to move on the right side, and if female, she tries to move on the left side.
Oh, maybe this is why. Say that again? I wanted to hear the joke. Oh, really? I was thinking here, I wonder if has to do with why men are right-sided and women are left-sided brains or something. I don't know. Anyways, I was halfway kidding. But if it's interesting that we have ultrasounds and stuff like that, but through some Ayurvedic science like this, we could probably don't even need an ultrasound in some ways to figure out the sex of the baby. Okay, translation and purport of 35, please.
Deriving its nutrition from the food and drink taken by the mother, the fetus grows and remains in that abominable residence of stools and urine, which is the breeding place of all kinds of worms. Purport. In the Markandeya Purana, it is said that in the intestine of the mother, the umbilical cord, which is known as Apyayani, joins the mother to the abdomen of the child. And through this passage, the child within the womb accepts the mother's assimilated foodstuff. In this way, the child is fed by the mother's intestine within the womb and grows from day to day. The statement of the Markandeya Purana about the child's situation within the womb is exactly corroborated by modern medical science, and thus the authority of the Puranas cannot be disproved, as is sometimes attempted by the Mayavadi philosophers. Since the child depends completely on the assimilated foodstuff of the mother, during pregnancy there are restrictions on the food taken by the mother. Too much salt, chili, onion, and similar food is forbidden for the pregnant mother, because the child's body is too delicate and new for him to tolerate such pungent food. Restrictions and precautions to be taken by the pregnant mother, as enunciated in the Smriti scriptures of Vedic literature, are very useful. We can understand from the Vedic literature how much care is taken to beget a nice child in society. The Garbhadana ceremony before sexual intercourse was compulsory for persons in the higher grades of society, and it is very scientific. Other processes recommended in the Vedic literature during pregnancy are also very important. To take care of the child is the primary duty of the parents, because if such care is taken, society will be filled with good population to maintain the peace and prosperity of the society, country, and human race.
Okay, everybody's awake still, right? Okay. This is my plea for Sunday feast with not too many chilies. What if we have pregnant women that are coming? They can't have too many chilies. No, actually, Sunday feast this last week was really good. It was amazing. But yes, we need to be careful on what we're eating, right? Because these things take us to the different modes of material nature. And, I mean, if they're doing this to the child's body, then we have to understand that they're doing something to us also, right? Okay, let's go to the next verse and purport 6, please.
Bitten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself, the child suffers terrible agony because of his tenderness. He thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition.
Oh, read the purport, please.
Purport. The miserable condition of material existence is not only felt when we come out of the womb of the mother, but it is also present within the womb. Miserable life begins from the moment the living entity begins to contact his material body. Unfortunately, we forget this experience and do not take the miseries of birth very seriously. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is specifically mentioned that one should be very alert to understand the specific difficulties of birth and death. Just as during the formation of this body we have to pass through so many difficulties within the womb of the mother, at the time of death there are also many difficulties. As described in the previous chapter, one has to transmigrate from one body to another, and the transmigration into the bodies of dogs and hogs is especially miserable. But despite such miserable conditions, due to the spell of Maya, we forget everything and become enamored by the present so-called happiness, which is described as actually no more than a counteraction to distress.
This is the position of ignorance, right? Ignorance is I forget, right? So we go through life and we come through distress, and then after that distress is gone and we come through some happiness, oh, that didn't happen, right? We kind of like put up our blinders, right? Oh, I wasn't in distress. So because of our ignorance and our forgetfulness, we're not understanding our position in the womb of the mother, or not even what happened yesterday. Did anybody go through any difficulties yesterday? Well, maybe you can remember, maybe you're not, maybe you're just happy today, and so, yesterday was great, Easy to forget the distresses of life. So we need things like Bhagavatam and this heavy stuff to pull us out of that ignorance, right? To remind us, this is not the place for us. Because of your ignorance, you're smiley and happy because a moment you get some glittery nice thing, but just yesterday you were holding a pile of stool. Yes, I went there, Drista. Okay, 331:7. Please, here I'll do this one. Owing to the mother's eating bitter, pungent foodstuffs, or food which is too salty or too sour, the body of the child incessantly suffers pains which are almost intolerable. All descriptions of the child's bodily purport, all descriptions of the child's bodily situation in the womb of the mother are beyond our conception. It is very difficult to remain in such a position, but still this child has to remain. Because his conscience is not very developed, the child can tolerate it. Otherwise, he would die. That is the benediction of Maya, who endows the suffering body with the qualifications for tolerating such terrible tortures. How much is our ignorance keeping us from dying in our present situation? Interesting. 331:8, please. Prabhu, can somebody give we have people that listen on YouTube and stuff, so we like to use the mic. Your name, Prabhu? What was it?
Raghavacharya Das.
Nice to meet you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestines, the child remains lying on one side of the abdomen, his head turned towards his belly and his back and neck arched like a bow. Purport. If a grown man were put into such a condition as the child within the abdomen, completely entangled in all respects, it would be impossible for him to live even for a few seconds. Unfortunately, we forget all these sufferings and try to be happy in this life, not caring for the liberation of the soul from the entanglement of birth and death. It is an unfortunate civilization in which these matters are not plainly discussed to make people understand the precarious condition of material existence.
People say it's hard to talk about religion, let alone let's talk about death and the position of the womb, the child in the womb. Don't talk about that. Please, Gokula Nanda Prabhu.
The child just remains just like a bird in a cage without freedom of movement. At that time, if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past 100 births, and he grieves wretchedly. What is the possibility of peace of mind in that condition?
100 births. Purport, please, Prabhu.
After birth, the child may forget about the difficulties of his past lives. But when we are grown up, we can at least understand the grievous tortures undergone at birth and death by reading the authorized scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. If we do not believe in the scriptures, that is a different question. But if we have faith in the authority of such descriptions, then we must prepare for our freedom in the next life. That is possible in this human form of life. One who does not take heed of these indications of suffering in human existence is said to be undoubtedly committing suicide. It is said that this human form of life is the only means for crossing over the nescience of Maya, or material existence. We have a very efficient boat in this human form of body, and there is a very expert captain, the spiritual master. The scriptural injunctions are like favorable winds. If we do not cross over the ocean of the nescience of material existence, in spite of all these difficulties, then certainly we are all intentionally committing suicide.
Okay. Yeah. This is 3:31:9, and this is the position or the situation of the soul in the womb. And this one, I really like this purport. Okay, 3:31:10. Who's the lucky soul?
Thus endowed with the development of consciousness, from the 7th month after his conception, the child is tossed downward by the airs that press the embryo during the weeks preceding delivery. Like the worms born of the same filthy abdominal cavity, he cannot remain in one place. At the end of the 7th month, the child is moved by the bodily air and does not remain in the same place, for the entire uterine system becomes slackened before delivery. The worms have been described here as Sodara. Sodara means born of the same mother. Since the child is born from the womb of the mother, and the worms are also born of fermentation within the womb of the same mother, under the circumstances, the child and the worms are actually brothers. We are very anxious to establish universal brotherhood among human beings, but we should take into consideration that even the worms are our brothers. What to speak of other living entities? Therefore, we should be concerned about all living entities.
You can't help but laugh, but then Srila Prabhupada in the last sentence really takes it like deep, like a real compassion. You can feel Srila Prabhupada's compassion when you read those last two sentences, you know. Even the worms that are brothers inside the womb should be, you know, we should have compassion for them. Okay, let's please go to 3:31:1. And text 1, we're going to read some Sanskrit. And then we'll read the verse one more time in purport. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmana Deva Netrena Karmana Deva Netrena Jantur Deho Papatyahe Jantur Deho Papatyaye Striya Pravista Udaram Striya Pravista Udaram Pumsoreta Kanasrayaha Pumsoreta Kanasaraya Bolo Sri Bhagavan Uracha Karmana Deva Neteya Jantur Deho Papatye Striya Pravista Dudaram Pumsoreta Kanasrayaha Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmana Deva Netreya Pumsoreta Kanasrayaha Shri Jantur Deho Papatyate Treya Pravista Udaram Pumsoreta Kanasrayaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Karma Deve Netrena Jantur deho papate. Striya pravista udaram. Pumsoreta kanasrayaha. Okay, let's read the word by word translation all together, please. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Karmana, by the result of work. Deva Netrena, under the supervision of the Lord. Jantu, a living entity. Deha, a body. Upyapate, for obtaining. Sreya, of a woman. Pravistaha, enters. Udaram, the womb. Pumsaha, of a man. Retaha, of semen. Kama, a particle. Asraya, dwelling in. Who would please read the purport and translate? Kaylee, would you mind reading the purport and translation?
Okay.
Or translation and purport, please.
Translation. The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. Purport. As stated in the last chapter, after suffering different kinds of hellish conditions, a man comes again to the human form of body. The same topic is continued in this chapter. In order to give a particular type of human form to a person who has already suffered hellish life, the soul is transferred to the semen of a man who is just suitable to become his father. During sexual intercourse, the soul is transferred through the semen of the father into the mother's womb in order to produce a particular type of body. This process is applicable to all embodied living entities, but it is especially mentioned for the man who was transferred to the Andatamisra, hell. After suffering there, when he who has had many types of hellish bodies, like those of dogs and hogs, is to come again to the human form, he is given the chance to take his birth in the same type of body from which he degraded himself to hell. Everything is done by the supervision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Material nature supplies the body, but it does so under the direction of the Supersoul. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that a living entity is wandering in this material on a chariot made by material nature. The Supreme Lord as Supersoul is always present with the individual soul. He directs material nature to supply a particular type of body to the individual soul according to the result of his work, and the material nature supplies it. Here one word, Reta Kanashrayaha, is very significant because it indicates that it is not the semen of the man that creates life within the womb of a woman. Rather, the living entity, the soul, takes shelter in a particle of semen and is then pushed into the womb of a woman. Then the body develops. There is no possibility of creating a living entity without the presence of the soul simply by sexual intercourse. The materialistic theory that there is no soul and that a child is born simply by material combination of the sperm and ovum is not very feasible. It is unacceptable.
In these purports, in these translations, what caught your interest? What was some of these things? As mentioned before, it's really important that we are comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Some of this can be like, whoa, like taboo to some point, or well, but just uncomfortable reading it. But we really need to be willing to be uncomfortable to hear our situation in this material world. And so Srila Prabhupada in the purports and of the verses here are just really making it so clear that we don't want to take on another body. Drissa, what was one thing that caught your?
The suffering of the living entity in the womb, bitten by the worm.
So Drissa mentions the being bitten by worms while you're in the womb. Anything else catch your guys's? Kaylee. What I got from this is Srila Prabhupada's really, in a way, talking about abortion. That's what I kind of got from this, was like abortion, or that we think that through, okay, what I should clarify this. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes we think that we can, the body doesn't have a soul until this time, or it's not a child until this time. And so in time, after this many weeks and stuff. So what I got from this is Srila Prabhupada is really trying to say is that the soul, the person is present from even before birth. It's already there. And so we need to understand and care about this situation in the sense of this is a person and this is, a soul. Yeah? Any other things come up in the situation of the soul within the womb? I mean, we laughed. Yes, Kripamaya Prabhu. Yeah, right? What was your thoughts on that? Yeah, right? Yeah. That's what I similarly, I was like, wow, Srila Prabhupada, you're like, first I thought you're so funny in a scholarly way, in a present, and then it's just like, it really makes you think like how many births, how many brothers have you had? In this life, you've had, I have one brother. No, you have, hundreds of thousands. I don't know. You know what I mean? How many worms are in? Would the bacteria be considered our brothers? He's talking specifically of the worms, but I mean, the bacteria is coming from the body of the. Yeah, germs and stuff. So there's two things that I wanted to if we can go to Bhagavad Gita 8:6, because after this being just hit in the head, we need a little relief, right? Drissa, will you? Well, we can all sing the Sanskrit for this. Even I know the Sanskrit for this verse. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tayajanti aitiklevaram tam tami vante kunteya sadata bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So Srila Prabhupada says in this purport, we chant Hare Krishna, and we can understand that through chanting Hare Krishna at the time of death, then we can have the consciousness and the presence to chant Hare Krishna and think of Krishna. So, in case there's somebody out there with extreme anxiety, just keep chanting Hare Krishna, you're okay. Srila Prabhupada and Krishna are taken care of. In addition, if we can pull up this song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This song is Bulie Tomare. And we'll go right to the translation of it. Kaylee, would you mind passing around the mic and we can read this translation, please? Whoever grabs the mic, just read two of them, and then we'll get through this in just a few. So, Kripamaya Prabhu, if you read the first two in English.
Forsook you, O Lord, and came to this world of pain and sorrow. Now I submit my tale of woe at your lotus feet. While still in the unbearable fetters of my mother's womb, I saw you before me. You revealed yourself, but briefly, and then abandoned this poor servant of yours.
At that moment, I swore to worship you after taking birth, but birth came, and with it the network of worldly illusion, which robbed me of all good sense. As a fondled son in the lap of relatives, I passed my time smiling and laughing. My parents' affection helped me to forget the pangs of birth, and I thought the world was very nice.
Day by day, I grew and soon began playing with other boys. Shortly, my powers of understanding emerged. I read and studied my lessons incessantly.
Traveling from place to place, proud of my education, I grew wealthy and maintained my family with undivided attention. O Lord Hari, I forgot you. Now in old age, Bhakti Vinod is sad. He weeps. I failed to worship you, O Lord, and instead passed my life in vain. What will be my fate now?
Isn't this a great journey? Pain of the womb. Oh, I take birth. Oh, my parents love me so much. My relatives, they're cuddling, they're pinching my cheek. Oh, and then I get some intelligence. So I start to, before that I play with my other friends and we're having such a good time. And I start to get to some intelligence. And so and then I get some intelligence. I start to make some wealth. And then I start to die. And I go, dang, what did I do? What did I waste my time in things that are going to be gone because I'm about to die and I can see that they're going to leave me soon. So let's hear from Srimad Bhagavatam. Let it enter our heart, this distressful situation, and be intelligent and use our enthusiasm to say, okay, right now, tomorrow, whenever I'm chanting my rounds, I'm going to chant Hare Krishna very attentively because I don't want to just not experience distress, but I want to go to Krishna. I want to experience the divine, loving situation, the love of Krishna, Radha and Krishna. I started getting a little sentimental there. Anyways, we are at 8:17. I'll end there and open up discussion, thoughts, questions, comments. Please, Tulsi.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for a nice class. So my question is, it's great now that we know we're not the body and that we are soul, how to identify more with the soul. It said that the child in the womb can remember their last 100 lives. So what is it that helps the soul remember? Like if all the experiences are on the bodily platform, then what is it that differentiates your soul from my soul?
You said that the experiences there was one statement you meant that our experiences are all on the bodily platform. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, bodily or mental, the mind, false ego, everything is matter, right? So we're still experiencing and we're remembering from one life to the next. So, so how to identify with the soul more and more?
Well, as devotees, in our sincerity, trying to become Krishna consciousness, the Supreme Personality takes charge of our life. Our spiritual master takes charge of us. And so all the experiences that we're having in life are to get us to this conclusion that Krishna is the supreme love, our supreme destination, and that this material world is quite distressful. So sometimes we have this experience of distress and anguish, and then sometimes we have a situation of pleasure and happiness. And either way, the devotee is looking at it and saying, oh, distress, good. Then I should go back to Krishna in the spiritual world where this is. Oh, happiness, oh, that is the great gift from my dear Krishna. We just have to keep swimming. Just keep swimming. That's the process. We just keep on chanting. We keep on surrounding ourselves with devotees. We just keep coming to Srimad Bhagavatam. And these things we can't overcome by ourselves. They're insurmountable. So we take shelter of a process and practicing and really try to look at our heart and say, how can I be a little bit more sincere? How can I dive a little bit? How can I be a little bit more attentive? How can I make these steps? And then the greatest gift of all comes, the old body. And we really start to say, you know what? This ain't such a cool situation right now. you've got a nice young body, you've got a nice body, and you're middle-aged, and like, yeah, like me and you, we're kind of like, like we're, around this 45 to 50 age, you're making good money. You started to learn how to traverse the world a little bit. You're not so into politics of the office, and you're kind of getting good at it a little bit. So maybe bodily wise, on the energy, we're not so attached, but usually we're attached up here because we can traverse. You know what I mean? We kind of learn from our experiences and stuff like that. But then we get a little bit older, and all of a sudden that goes away. Maybe we have to retire or whatever. And we just go like, okay, this is a bum deal. This is not, I can no longer find any enjoyment through this body. And this is Krishna's gift. This is, old age to the devotee is a great friend. And so just keep swimming, just keep going, keep on chanting Hare Krishna, keep on doing what we're doing, see everything as Krishna's mercy, and then one day we'll get old and really get the point. Yes, no? Yes? What's your... Kripa Moya, you have any thoughts? Prabhu?
Tendency to cheat, tendency to make mistakes, tendency to be illusioned in imperfect senses. So we have a choice. We can either decide to rely upon the perception of our senses, or we can see through the eyes of Scripture. So this is when she mentioned how do we see through that we are the soul. That was my reflection. To see through the eyes of Scripture. Chakshush. Shashru chakshush.
I was thinking we say in the invocation verses, right? By daily hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, almost everything's completely destroyed, right? I was thinking when you're saying this, if we just keep on listening, if we keep on coming to Srimad Bhagavatam and try to understand it, everything's almost completely destroyed. And why is it only almost completely destroyed? Because we need the ingredients of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada's mercy, right, to take us that rest, to get us to 100, which is very nice. Drista, do you have a comment, thought?
Yeah, I appreciated Bhagavatam. It has this way of de-romanticizing material life. I was thinking like sometimes the others like, oh, he's kicking. And then when you think of that now, like, oh my God, he's kicking. Like, but then I thought it's nice to think of the transcendental perspective, because for the material birth, it's very like gruesome and dark, and really the suffering has only just started in the womb. You have a whole lots more to come once you exit. But in the devotee's case, it's like a soul has come to become a devotee, and yeah, I think it's nice we can also keep like a two perspectives that, it's not like, oh, taking birth is bad, but if you're a materialist and it's a material birth, then it's bad. Yeah.
I wanted to make just a comment on that. I couldn't help but laugh because I sometimes mention that there's verses in Srimad Bhagavatam or in Bhagavad Gita that will really touch the Kshatriya spirit. For instance, when Krishna's speaking in the universal form and he says, Arjun, get up and fight. You've already seen this is done. And I was like, as a Kshatriya, you're like, yeah, let's go. So this must be like nectar to the brahmachari. Yeah. They read these verses and like, yeah, this is, stool, pus, and mucus. Yeah, worms. We aren't the body. Sorry. Go ahead.
And to give a perspective, that's not going to be nectar to the brahmachari. Well, I like what Jishtajumna was saying about like the difference between a material birth and a birth and taking shelter in the womb of a devotee mother with devotee family, because I know of devotees that as soon as they have a child in their womb, they start to like put headphones on their womb and play Srimad Bhagavatam or play Kirtan, and they're helping purify that child from the very beginning. And also, what I was thinking was that I know like women that are not devotees, when their baby is hurting, their stomach or something, they kind of start to get annoyed, like, oh my God, when is this going to be over with? And they're thinking about themselves. But now with this perspective, when our baby is kicking or our baby is moving in a way that hurts our stomach or like is causing us fatigue, then we can have sympathy for the baby. Instead of thinking about ourselves, we can think in a way of service to the child. I don't know, we can have some like sympathy in that way. I was also thinking that this is a good section to read if when your kid gets old enough to ask the "where do babies come from" question. Maybe not. I was thinking, maybe I would just read this with my 10-year-old when they ask how babies are made.
Yeah, Govind was here, and I was like, okay, here we go. You know. Thank you, Prabhu. That's great compassion of you, Premamrita. I was thinking when you were saying that, the mother might be suffering, but if you can think, oh, look at how much the baby's suffering and stuff, and that compassion is very nice. Yeah, or they feel the distress of the mother, like kind of, or not kind of like, yeah, oh, you're causing me problems and this and that. Ooh. Mother Aruda, Her Grace, Mother Aruda from Boise, Idaho. She has 2 wonderful sons, Radhika Raman and Gopal Hari. And this is how she taught them, is just reading Srimad Bhagavatam and discussing. So nothing was withheld. It was just, here it is, we're reading it, and then discussion. And from what I understand, being around, I lived in Boise for 5 years, and hearing your books is more just about the discussion, not even telling them they're wrong or right, or like trying to correct them or nothing like that, but just having a nice discussion about Srimad Bhagavatam. So yeah, like could you imagine growing up hearing about these kind of things? It's not that they desensitize you, but you actually start seeing them in the right perspective. So then you're not bothered by some of these things that comes in a public school situation. Oh my God, we're talking about sex. You read Srimad Bhagavatam. You're like, well, yeah, this thing, it's a lump of flesh, guys. The teachers go, what? Okay. And he yes, we should be passionate to that flesh ball, plum, Haribol. Any other? We have one more minute. Any last comments, thoughts? Okay, what I'm going to do here is, we can end Srimad Bhagavatam and listen to Bhakti Swarup Damodar sing the song by Bhakti Vinod. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur